Hey guys, welcome back to Sword of Convallaria. In today's video, we're going to be doing a beginner's guide to combat. Now, I did do a general beginner's guide for everything else in the game, and I will leave that in the pinned comment in the description if you want to go ahead and check that one out. But this one, we are looking at getting you the basics of combat, so when you jump into the game, you can feel pretty comfortable with what is going on with combat. So the first thing is, when we are jumping into combat, every map will have a set number of deployment tiles, which are these blue tiles. Now, sometimes that amount of deployment tiles can exceed the amount of characters you can actually deploy, and they are just used for extra strategy. You can check how many heroes you can deploy over here on the right hand side, next with the deployment button. On the bottom you can see I am at 5 of 5 on my deployment, so that means I got 5 that I can deploy. You can deploy less if you want to. In certain situations like the character shard farming, I normally just do 3 characters, so that is an option in certain situations that you may use. Now the other thing before we get into and start the battle, I'm going to hide my face cam for a sec, and you can see this little 1-2 button. Now if I toggle that is a really handy thing to have on before battle, because this allows you to see the turn order of every unit in the battle. So you can see here, my ISA here is going to be first, then we're going to go second, where's third, and then the third is going to be an enemy. So you can see the turn order of everyone in the battle and who is going to go where. And as you can see, I can drag and drop characters if I want for different positioning, or I can just drag them off and pick up a different character if I want to, depending on the situation. So that is going to be the first bit, and that's pretty much everything you really need to know before you get into combat, and then you can pretty much jump into it. So we're going to hit start and we're going to take a look. So let's get in first of all. Okay, so here we go. There's a couple things to note. First of all, you can see my movement range. Movement range is obviously a very important thing in these games because it's how far you can actually go to engage with enemies. And as you can see, in a straight line, my character can move 3 tiles. However, she can still go 3 tiles this way, and you can move tiles through your allies. So allies do not interrupt your movement path. They just mean you can't stop on that tile, but they don't interrupt the movement of yours. Whereas if this ally here was an obstacle, I wouldn't then be able to go to this tile. So keep that in mind. Now, how do you tell what a character's general movement is? If I bounce over here to the demo version of the game, and we click on Mytha here, who is the character I'm currently using, you can see her movement is 3. Which means she can move 3 tiles in a straight line. Other characters will have bigger movement. Normally Seekers, which are the blue characters, because they're more of like assassins, rogues, unless they're some of the archer types, they will have the ability to move normally a greater distance because they are normally assassin type characters. So keep that in mind. Now the other 2 things that we have are jump, high jump and low jump. Now jump is in relation to if there is an obstacle that is of a specific height. You can see this obstacle here is a 1 height, and my jump was 2. And once you get above your jump, anything above 2 will start increasing your cost, and some characters won't be able to jump to the height. So as you get higher in obstacles next to you, the less distance you can go. So for instance, if this here was an obstacle that was 2, then I would only be able to go, that would count for an extra 1, and then I'd only be able to go 1 here. So basically obstacles deter your movement. It's hard to explain straight up, but you'll get a feel for it as you go on. Just keep in mind, some characters can get jump. Some characters can even get jump abilities to cross ravines and stuff like that. So if there's a 1 tile gap, they can actually jump over it. There is a lot of different jump mechanics in this game, but obstacles are going to slow your movement in general. Now, the next thing I want you to look at is these purple tiles. Now, what are those purple tiles? Those are tiles where if I move to them, I will be in aggro range of an enemy where an enemy will be able to hit me. So if I stay in the blue, I'm fine. Now, if you're not seeing these purple tiles, it is this exclamation mark above my head. You can see if I click that, it no longer shows it, but I click it and it is there. Similar, we still have that 1-2 button, which shows me the turn order under the character's portraits. So keep those 2 active is my highly recommended idea, so that you can keep track of all these things. So I'm just going to move her. She is my tank. I'm going to move her up here, and we're going to go ahead and place her. That's pretty self-explanatory. Now, once again, to move characters, you can hold them and drag them, or you can just click on the tile you want to. Now, if an enemy is nearby and in range of them, you can just click on the enemy and it will auto-locate that character to a position to attack the enemy if you want to. But this character, as you can see, once again, I stand here, I have my 3 tile move range, and as you can see here, I go here, but then I've got to go adjustment, and because there's no direct place, this is my furthest tile because I'm moving 1, 2, 3 to go ahead and get there. So I'm just going to stand her by there, and pretty easy done. Now the enemy is going to move, he's going to attack. Cool beans. the other enemies are going to move. And so now this is the handy thing. Those enemies have gone in range of an obstacle. So now with this character, I can go here and I can attack. I can blow up that whatchamacallit? That explosive. And that will deal extra damage to them. So making use of different things around the map in this one is going to be very, very handy. Now, as you can see, I did use a skill on that one. The previous 2 turns, I haven't used a skill. And that is where you have to take into account your skill, your ability points here, your skill points. As you can see, this character has 3. Every ability is going to have differing cost of skills. However, your basic attack will always be something that is free. So you will always be able to do something during the battle. Now, you can also get additional abilities from weapons and stuff like that, which will also go down here in your ability list. So with this character, as you can see, this enemy is very close to dying. So I can go ahead here and I can go and kill them. Now, when you go to attack an enemy and you're targeting them, it will show you how much damage the standard shot will deal to that enemy. And as you can see, this one, it is depleting the entire red bar. And then it's giving me that little X next to their name, which indicates that that character is going to die. So we go in, we attack. Now we come into my next character, and she has something unique that I do want to demonstrate. And as you can see here, I'm going to put her here, and I'm going to use this ability. Now, this ability, obviously, I'm playing on the Taiwanese version, so I can't show you the text, but this has an instant effect. At the start in the brackets, it will say instant. Now, if you have an instant effect, it means that ability is used, and then you can continue your turn. However, when you do that, it's not like getting an additional turn because you don't get your full movement range again. If you've got a 3-tile movement and you've moved 2 tiles, after you use that instant ability, you will get another movement of 1. Hers is a bit different though because it locks her in place to a sniper mode, so hers doesn't have that effect. But just know instant abilities are ones that you can use and then still continue whatever you were doing on your turn with that character. So we're going to go here and we're going to hit this, and it shows you my attack range. So now she is in her sniper mode. As you can see, she has got 2 of the skill points. So I'm going to go ahead that, and you can see we are going to instantly one-tap this enemy with that ability. So there we go. Boom. Happy days. Enemy is down. Now the remaining enemies will get a chance to take their turn. There we go. And the final one. There we go. Once again. And now we rotate back through, and it is pretty simple, and those are the main things. Now, let's say I put my tank over here, and I'm like, oh, what? I was actually supposed to go ahead and attack that guy. Now, up here next to our speed up button, there is the auto button. Auto button, I mean, sometimes you'll use it, but the auto is pretty bad. Don't rely on it. But we have this button here. As you can see, this will allow you to go back in time and redo your turns. You can go back as far as you want, even to the start of the battle, and do it. The other fantastic thing about this feature is if you lose a battle, especially if you you lose a battle because you made a bad positioning like 3 turns ago, if you lose the battle, it will give you the option to go ahead and use this feature to move back and retry the end of the battle that you lost. So I'm going to move it back to here so that I can replace my tank, and I can go ahead and I can do my attack that I wanted to do. So what we're going to do here is we're going to come up here, we're going to attack this guy, we're going to tap him out. And then we're going on to my next character. Once again, I'm in the purple range, which means I am in the aggro range of these enemies, but we can still go ahead and we can do some stuff. Now, she does have a knockback with this ability. So unfortunately, it's going to kill them, but just note with knockbacks, you do get damage from the ability that does the knockback, and if they land themselves into anything, it will deal additional damage for the knocking damage, or if you knock them off a ledge, it's going to be even more beneficial. So we're just going to go ahead and tap that. Boom, job done, pretty happy days. Now, the last thing that I wanted to show you guys is, once again, if you click your character up here, you can get a look at all their buffs. You can read their buffs that they have by clicking on that, so you get an idea of what buffs you have in case you're trying to figure something out for any sort of strategy. You can also see what their stats are after modification, and you can see all the abilities that you've brought into combat, so you know which ones you need to use. Now, there's a couple other things tied to combat that I wanted to go through. The first of which is your talent trees. So as you go through and you level up these talent trees, you will be able to unlock additional abilities that you as like the commander, I don't know what they actually refer to it as, has these abilities to use. As you can see, I can go ahead and upgrade this one. Boom, there we go. That is one of my abilities. Now, if I go back over here and I click, once again, if I hide my head, boom, you can choose which of these abilities you want to bring into combat. So as you can see, I've got those ones in there currently, and you can choose which ones you want to have. And now these do have an effect in combat as well, and these can be very, very important for helping you get through some of the harder stages. In general combat, you're probably not going to need these for any of like the, you know, the boring type combat that doesn't really matter, but once you get into some of the harder tower modes, these things will be very, very important. So we're going to jump back into another battle just so I can show you the way that operates. And there's one other thing that I wanted to show you guys that's really helpful for understanding sort of effects on the battlefield and what different tiles have on them. So we're going to jump in, and as you can see here, this is once again where you can select those loadouts that you want to use. And you'll see that each of them does have a different cost to deploy as well. So they do have, you can see this one has 110 cost to deploy and four turn cooldown. They all have different effects as well. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump into combat and show you guys exactly how they work. Sweet. So you can see here I've got 280, which means I can't use my big one. However, I can use these other two. And this one you can see here, we can go ahead and we can deal some damage to an enemy, and you can use these at any time, and you will continually generate this energy to be able to use them over the battle. So this one is a massive AoE one. If I wanted to save up and use that, I would. This one is going to allow me to grant a character an extra turn, I believe it is. So we do have a bunch of different effects, but for this one, once again, sometimes this one's really good to use on obstacles like the explosive barrel when enemies are near it, so you can get the extra damage from the enemies doing it. But just for argument's sake, let's go ahead to this guy, and you can see we get an instant kill on that guy. Happy days, extra damage. Once again, that did use some, but you generate it over time, and you can see that now that ability is on its 4-turn cooldown. Now, the last thing that I wanted to show you guys in combat is going to be a handy tool for, especially when you're new, trying to understand what everything on the map is. If I click on this tile here, you can see we've got the explosive barrel. If I hide my head again and you look in the bottom left hand corner, if I click on this, it will show me what the tile type is and any additional effects that the tile has or objects that it has. This one you can see here, it shows me the explosive barrel with the damage it can deal and stuff like that. So it's great for understanding. If I click on this tile here, it will show me what is on that tile. So you can see what is on the tile, because there will be some tiles with little cards on them that will give you buffs and different things like that, different obstacles and all that sort of stuff. So you can see what all obstacles, what tile types do. If you saw earlier when I used my Beryl, my mage, she put burning ground on the ground. So you can look up what burning ground does. There is a bunch of those different things that you can find out and understand just through using that simple system, which is very, very handy, especially when you are new to the game and you don't quite know what everything does. So feel free to take your time when you're in combat, learn everything, go through the exploratory phase, and you can be pretty good from there. And that is pretty much everything that I wanted to cover for combat. Like I said, I will do more in-depth combat stuff, but I feel like these are the basics that anyone can use when they jump into the game, and the more advanced stuff I will go through in future videos. But once again, if there is anything more specific you guys want me to go through, please let me know in the comments. Once again, we do have that beginner's guide, which I'll link in the pinned comment and the description if you want to go through all the other aspects of the game. And guys, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.